Hello guys, my name is NaToSaphiX. Today we have another video, and this time it is another episode of the FACEIT cheat code, this time on the Ancient. Now, I've tried to do this a couple of times, let's hope that it goes better this time. Today what I'll be showing you is, well, just as always in FACEIT cheat code, I'm going to be gearing you towards winning more FACEIT games. And since I saw in the comments that you guys really wanted some Ancient videos, I thought now I have a little bit more experience on the map, I will tell you basically the same thing that I did on Nuke. I'm gonna go through every single CT position and tell you exactly what sort of you are meant to do, what you can do, and what would be like a little bit extra in a way. So basically I'm just gonna tell you how you can win more rounds on CT, because that's sort of, if you have a really good CT side on Ancient, you should be able to close it out on T. Like, let's say you get 12 or 13 rounds on CT. Getting that, like, the few couple of rounds should be possible, definitely. But also CT is, like, just the easiest thing to focus on. And as has been sort of the trend before, I'm going to be going through the positions that I view as the sort of biggest issue in FACEIT matches, I guess you can call them. So we're going to be starting with Banana. That I see to be the number one biggest issue. And what I see as the biggest problem when people are playing Ancient with me, it doesn't really matter what elo, like sometimes I play with, you know, people from my Discord, and we're looking at, I don't know, an average elo of maybe 1,300 on the players that are not me. Other times I am playing, you know, solo queue, and even my teammates around 2.5k or 3k elo still mess this up. So basically, if you put yourselves in the shoes of the T side, right? What is the easiest way to win a round? Well, the easiest way to win a buy round, for example, is just contacting or rushing up B. I see it time and time again that I'm playing Ancient. We win maybe 5 of the first 6 rounds on CT or something like that. And after the T side sort of runs out of options, they just start rushing B until it stops working. And some of the time, it stops working after the first time. Like, it doesn't even work the first time, and they just do it 3 or 4 more times in a row, basically. It's completely brain dead, but it just goes to show that rushing Banana or contacting up Banana is the number one easiest thing to do on Ancient as a T side to actually win rounds. So if you are able to effectively block that, you're giving yourself such a much better chance of actually winning these matches. If you block the easiest thing for the Ts to do, you are like forcing them to come up with solutions. And if you're playing against low level 10 or anything lower, like 2k elo or 2.5k elo, what you will notice is that if you take them out of their comfort zone, if you don't let them get away with the plays they normally get away with, they don't really have many solutions, and they don't even know where to begin. If you play a FACEIT match and you are almost allowed 15 out of 15 rounds to contact or rush up Banana, and all of a sudden that possibility gets taken away from you, you have to start doing something that you are not used to doing. And if you're just playing against sort of regular FACEIT players, blocking their one comfort play will probably like nullify almost the entire impact, because only the, you know, pro players or people who are really trying to get better at the game will have played multiple situations and have been forced sort of to an extent to try and like come up with solutions. Like, they might have actually been blocked in their comfort plays and they have had to come up with something different. So if you manage to block the easiest sort of thing for the Ts, it's the same that we talked about on Inferno. If you manage to block B, or overpass, for example, in the overpass FACEIT cheat code, if you manage to block Monster, the T side has to come up with options, and it's just so much harder for them to do that because that's not what they're comfortable doing. So, how do you effectively block Banana? Well, I will just show you a super easy way, because it is honestly very simple. If you come short and you bounce a Molotov here, this Molotov ideally should spread into the corner. As you can see, I'm burning right now. This Molotov makes it so you're stopping a rush, but you're also making sure that they cannot go into this corner and hide. Let's say if you Molotov a little bit deeper, if someone beats this Molo, he goes into the corner and hides, you think, it's clear, then he starts walking up, and maybe he catches a timing on your teammate or on you, who don't expect that someone is through it. That's why you wanna do this Molotov, because then this kind of lurk play is not a possibility. And not only that, if you get the Molotov to land down here, it's, as you can see, it's not very like one way for the T. The Molotov is so low compared to him that he can't really use it as cover. But if you Molotov here, which I also see people doing, now this is much more on an angle and he can actually use this as a one-way Molotov. So the number one spot to land the Molotov is, in my opinion, here, since you're blocking the corner and you're also not giving them anything to play around with. While this Molotov is up, I see also people on Banana making the mistake of just peeking the Molotov. This is like giving the T's a straight up duel, and there's honestly no reason to do this. So what I would personally do is that I would come short, I would Molo like this, then I would probably go side or copy, and if I don't hear anyone turn off the Molotov, that's great, then I know they can't be through it. If I hear someone smoking the Molotov, I will be ready with an HE, basically just standing like this. And when I hear them turn off the Molotov, I will just chuck a nade in there like this, and then maybe move over on a even sort of steeper angle. This means that if they are planning to rush B and they turn off your Molotov, they immediately get an HE in their heads, and they are probably 2 or 3 guys down half of their HP. So the first 2 guys that are kind of the most vital kills to get, they will already be half on HP, and you can very easily just kill them and kill the other guy, maybe stay alive, or you can keep holding this angle. But this is the number one way to block a rush. If you're one of those people who come over to Banana and you just immediately smoke here or something like that, first of all, sometimes it leaves a gap for the guy in the corner. But second of all, if the T-side want to go through this, they could potentially do it. All it takes is one flash and you being blind for them to actually run up and take all the space. That's why the best sort of combo you can do for yourself to block a rush is a Molotov, and then holding an HE. If this gets turned off, you immediately drop it and then you're ready. So that's what I would recommend for the Banana player. Moving over to Cave, this is also a very important position. It is one of the star player positions, and there's a whole lot of things that you can do from this position. But I will just show you sort of the standard things you have to do. Basically, as a Cave player, what I can recommend is either using this Molotov every round, where you are blocking off this area if they don't go fast. Or what I like to do is I run here. When I hit this corner, I double click jump throw on the blue here. Oop. This one goes over and it blocks this area, meaning that they can sit in the cubby, but they cannot push Cave without turning off this Molo or taking damage in it. It's kind of the same thing in Cave. If you run over here, you Molotov, you go in here. Now you hear the Molo get turned off, you can chuck a nade, not a decoy, you can chuck an HE like this into the T's running through it. And like this you are effectively blocking a Cave rush, which is very, very important. As a Cave player, what you most of the time want to do is either smoking the left side like this, so that the T's can't come from B and try to take Cave, or you want to smoke in front of yourself Cave like this, and then after you've done this, you kind of gave yourself the space to try some of the wallbangs. If you've watched any pro games on Ancient, you will see the Cave player spamming here. If you spam here, for example, you're hitting the middle of Banana. If you're spamming a little bit more to the right, like this, you're hitting the guy who is chilling in the door, potentially, like this guy. So that's a very good wallbang spot. And if you spam, if you sit here and spam up here, you're spamming the guy who's sitting at the back of this. You could probably even spam the guys closer, I'm not quite sure, but at least I'm just showing you a couple of wallbang spots. As a Cave player, your job is to make sure that the T side doesn't take this area. And if you feel like you can't hold this area, you can give it up and play a little bit further back. But the longer you can keep this area, the longer you can sort of keep the T's away from B. So ideally you want to be playing in this area a whole lot. That's why you want to be using your smoke in front of you so you can buy time here. And as a Cave player, what you also want to be doing is harassing the B players. So a move could be, for example, you smoke here, then you go out here, you chuck a nade like this nade goes over, hits around the cubby area. You start wallbanging them. You're making it super uncomfortable for them to be in B lobby. And you're never giving them sort of the peace of mind to just sit 5 seconds and do nothing. Only thing you wanna be aware of is that when you smoke this, or when you smoke this and you're wall banging, if you spam all of your bullets and you start reloading, this is the exact moment that a good player might push you through the smoke, but this also gives you the opportunity to, if you have an extra guy with you in cave, you can have him play in one of the corners, you can go ahead and spam all your bullets, then reload and fake that you're falling back a little bit. Maybe someone comes through the smoke and your rotation player will be here stepping out and killing people coming through the smoke. I want to show you this as well. You can wallbang this and you can kill a guy who's close in this corner. But with the right angle, you can actually spam down to mid as well. And yeah, it's probably not something you'll be doing a whole lot, but it's just nice for you to know that if your teammates say that, they're going out mid or some shit, you can maybe try some of these wallbang spots a little bit better than I'm doing. And you could potentially get a kill towards mid, but I would say the main focus is towards the B side of things and blocking this area. One last thing I want to say about cave is that if the T's do a lot of mid utility and your teammate lose mid, with the boxes being removed, some T's have started just rushing like this and peeking cave from this side early. Just be aware that this is a thing that could happen if the T side can take mid for free. But it probably will not happen even in your next 10 games after watching this video. Just want you to know that it's a possibility. Moving over to the mid player, and obviously depending on what skill level you are at, there are different things you will have to play against. For example, if you're playing against level 10s, you will probably get a window smoke from spawn every round. But if you're playing against level 5s, it's very unlikely that someone will be smoking window every single round, so it's kind of different. If you are a low elo player, you might be content with just buying an AWP and holding like an angle like this, so if they run out mid, you kill them. But most of the time, what I want to focus on in these videos is kind of a little bit more advanced, so I will show you how a normal mid player will be playing mid. If you are playing mid alone, so that is the case when your rotation player is not starting with you mid, you want to use your Molotov in either of these two spots. If you think that the T side are not gonna rush out mid, you should do the deep molo. You see this corner? Perfect. You see this corner? You wanna run, and before you hit this wall, let it go. This molo goes all the way deep, making it so no T-side players can hold the cross. By doing this Molotov, you make it so they no longer have info if you go into the mid copy, like some people call it jungle as well, which is quite nice because that means when they come out mid, they have an extra angle to check. But it is the case that if you think that the T's are going out mid, you want to be throwing a close Molotov instead, something like this, where you are blocking this entire area. This will make it so that if the T's want to run out, they either take a lot of Molotov damage or they will have to turn off the Molotov and then go out. The same principle works as in cave and as in banana. If you do the close Molotov, you can kind of stand ready with an HE. If they turn off this, you can chuck an HE into the smoke and be ready to fight in case they don't smoke you. And even if they do smoke you, you can still, let's say a scenario happens like this. You Molotov. The smoke comes now, you're standing with HE, okay, they turn it off, you nade, and then you spam with an M4 and an AK in this angle, trying to kill anyone who is running out. That could be a scenario. If you are playing sort of pro Counter-Strike, you will most of the time be getting a smoke here, and T-side will be doing this kind of molo against you. I can teach you a new Molotov here if you don't know it. I go right side of this water, stand up, this branch on this line, a little bit to the left, and regular jump throw. This, yeah, I don't know why this never fucking works for me, man. I think there's something wrong. I swear this works. I think somehow this Molotov doesn't work on the exact server that I'm on, because I swear this Molotov lands, but basically what it should look like is that the Molotov comes flying over. It's a bugged Molotov, and it will land like this in Donut. This makes it so that you cannot play from Donut, which the T side will be very happy with. You can imagine if there is a smoke here, They run out fast mid. You cannot be jungle or copy. And if there's a Molotov here, they know you cannot be standing here. So there are very few angles that the T side have to check. That's why most pro teams do this Molotov basically every round. A way to combat this is that, and this is actually another thing I see CTs doing wrong a lot of the time, is that if you are the mid player, you can always go through mid and do one of the Molotovs and then go donut. The thing is, people don't really realize how. Some people think that if they get Molotov donut every round, they then just have to start going donut. In my opinion, that's just straight up wrong. What you want to be doing, ideally, is that if you get smoked here, you still want to do one of the Molotovs. And if this Molotov donut is here, the way the map is designed is that you can jump from this ledge, and if you get the movement right, you take very little damage. I think this Molo was actually even deeper than it's even possible to be. The Molo is probably more like this. And with this you can jump over it if you have movement correct, and you take maybe 2 ticks of damage, but then you're actually Molotoving, putting pressure mid. You can still be close to listen. Are they actually going out mid? If they are, you can maybe turn off your donut Molo, or you can just be ready with a flash like this, bouncing it out, checking mid. There's a ton of things you can do, but if you go donut from the beginning every round where the T's do a donut Molo, you will never put any pressure on mid, and you won't have any info mid whatsoever, which is just not a good idea. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the mid player's role. I'm gonna show you one more kind of neat trick. If you do the deep Molotov like this, and you stand here and aim in between the gap and this tree, this one bounces on the back wall and lands up here. And it actually gives you kind of one-way gap where you can see feet. The only thing you need to be aware of is that if the T-side has an AWP, for example, he might come here and hold this angle. So if you run out, he can also see you. But yeah, the point is at least that if you move across this angle, if you're really paranoid of it, you can even bounce a flash like this and then wait a bit. When you have crossed this angle, you have massive like one-way advantage. And it was a really meta smoke at the start of Ancient, but it's kind of gone out of play. Not quite sure why. It might be because people are a little bit afraid to get peeked by the AWP. For the rotation player can basically start wherever he wants to. I play rotation a lot when I play FACEIT, so this is the role that I know the best. What I do is that if I think the T side is coming mid, I'm gonna start mid and I'm gonna help blocking mid. In some cases it can be that the T side is taking mid from my solo mid guy 2 or 3 rounds in a row, and I want to go mid with my mid guy and make sure that the T's know that mid isn't for free. If you go there and block it like once or twice in a match, the T side realizes that you some rounds will go heavy mid and they will stop just abusing mid every round. So what I will do is that I will be talking to my mid guy. Whatever Molotov he does, I will do the other. So typically the front spawn will be doing the deep Molo. So let's say that's me. I will be running and doing the deep Molo like this. And then my other guy, he will be doing the Molotov like this. The mid guy will still be jumping out, going donut like this. But I, as the rotation player, will most likely be staying in mid window. If they come out mid with a smoke here, I'm gonna spam through it. They maybe think that I'm the only mid player, and then my teammate will be able to work these angles if there's no Molotov donut. There's like a whole lot of things that you can do, but basically as the rotation player, if you want to help your teammate mid, all you gotta do is come here, do one Molotov, and try to help him block it at the beginning. Other than that, playing rotation is all about playing on feeling. What I like to do is, if I feel like my B side is struggling, I will come over and do just like a backstep smoke, kind of like this. It's not a perfect smoke, this one is actually dog shit. I should honestly find a lineup, but if you get something like this, it will be a pretty good smoke where you can play info on. If you're even a little bit better, you can go closer, you can smoke it a little bit more to the left side. I should really get a lineup for this, honestly. Ideally, you want the smoke to be up around this area. That way, you're helping to block banana with your team. But what I also like to do, if I have, let's say, blocked mid at the start, and I'm coming over to B, my teammate is playing like copy or something, or he's playing close here, I will come over and I will just offer a flash. I will just do a jump flash like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, honestly, but just any flash that lands in the middle of this space means that my guy, who is playing close banana, can dodge it, check it, and if there's no one here, I will probably go and immediately rotate over to A, because at this timing, they are likely coming A. For the rotation, you are kind of the star player, and or at least one of the star players. You're typically the AWP player, and you want to be trying to help your team block areas and get info so that you can make sure that you are in the correct spot when the hit comes in. It's basically about being creative, and I can't tell you a whole lot about it, but you're obviously all welcome to come to my stream if you want to check out how I play rotation. You can always ask me some questions in the chat. I'll be happy to help you out. And for the last position that we are going to be going through today is the A position. This one is a little bit more tricky. It's a anchor position, but it is also a position that is... It's kind of hard to hold, but it's also very easy to hold in FACEIT, because it's the bomb site that the T's will hit the least, so you will be getting very little action. But if you get good at playing A, you can sort of cut off half of the map by yourself, which will help your team win a whole lot, even though you might not be feeling like you're getting a whole lot of action. I will show you a couple of things that I like to do when I'm playing A. If I have the front spawn, so this spawn, what I like to do is run, come over here, and I will Molotov like this. This Molotov will beat the T's, meaning that if they come over to A, at max, basically one guy can run through this Molotov, and most of the time, if you Molo here, you delay the T side by 6 seconds. 6 seconds doesn't sound like a whole lot, and honestly it isn't, but these 6 seconds are enough that you could potentially go into the candles angle like this, or that you could... Maybe if you're feeling really risky, you could on this Molotov cross over here and hold this angle, which is extremely strong. Or this Molotov gives you time to, you know, play like this, or play like this, or in the corner here. And those 6 seconds, even though it doesn't slow the T's down by a whole lot, it slows them down extra because they have so many more angles that they now have to clear. If you don't throw this Molotov and the A lurk from the T's goes fast towards A main, he can take this angle before you cross it while walking. Meaning that without this Molotov, you could potentially not be in this angle if the T side is going in a position like this and holding... Hang on. In a position like this and holding the push. Which is why the Molotov is so strong. And yeah, that's kind of just what I sometimes like to do. You could also go and do it with a smoke, of course. You could also go and HE it. It's kind of up to you. But it gives a little bit extra pressure on the T side, and they will be a lot slower at taking map space towards A. On A, there are like a million ways you can play. You could one round get your rotation AWP to take a bait shot for you. You could play like this, hiding. If they come out on A, they probably won't clear you, and you can kill a lot of people in the back. You can play behind the big box, like you can jiggle for info and like smoke off here after you get contact, for example. You could play tempo like this. You can hold this angle. Only thing you gotta be aware of, if the T's go in here and boost, whoop, they can see you tempo. So if you are holding an angle just like this, you could still be killed without you knowing. So sometimes it can be advantageous to maybe stand like this, or stand like this, and then on random timing check this, just so you don't die for free. Another thing a lot of people might not know, you can jump up here, and you can actually jump all the way on the box. It's pretty out in the open, and it's only really a good place for one kill, but you could maybe play an AWP here, or take one kill on a rifle, jump down, use this smoke to stay alive, or flash up in the sky. There's many things you can do here. There's actually a lot of good angles. You can play on A like this, off angle. You can play an off angle like this, where you're just holding if they're walking out, and you will basically kill the first guy for free. If they go up on the boost, as you can imagine, if you're coming up on the boost, this is not where your crosshair is. So when you are holding like this, you might still have the drop on the guy on the boost. On A, you can basically do everything. All you need to know is that if you die, it's really bad for your team. So as an anchor, you want to try and stay alive for as long as possible. And a lot of your role is about buying time. So if you can get the info early, let's say you're jiggling here, as I said, you get the info early, you say, oh, they're coming A, you drop a defensive smoke, you're staying behind the box, on some timing you're moving out, maybe you're trying to go up in here, you jump up here, you play one way around your smoke, take one kill, stay more alive. Like, all these things will benefit you a whole lot on A, and yeah, A is honestly sort of simple, but it's also one of the most important positions to be good at, especially in pro play, because if you're bad here, the T side will abuse you and you will lose a lot of rounds. But at the same time, in a regular FACEIT match, you probably won't be seeing a whole lot of action. It will mainly be a position where you're falling asleep. Yeah, that's the best way I can put it. That's about what I had to say about Ancient for this episode of FACEIT Cheat Code. What I would like to be going through with you for the next episode of FACEIT Cheat Code, or potentially I will even make a different, like kind of a separate video series about this, is how to pressure the map on T side, because people play Ancient like they play Mirage, in that they like taking mid, but they have no clue what the fuck to do with mid when you take mid. So it's like everyone wants to take mid control, but they don't know what it means, and it just honestly doesn't make much sense. So that is something I would love to cover in a future video. For now, guys, I would like to thank you so much for watching the video. Please leave a like and a comment and subscribe. If you haven't, my name is NaToSaphiX, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.